and welcome to Draw With Me. I'm Danny Gregory. It is Thursday, March 2nd, and wasn't that an incredible Vermeer exhibit we just went to? It was amazing. So many people painted and drew and created versions of the Vermeer that we worked on, which was Girl with a Lute, but also all kinds of other variations of Vermeers of different kinds. It was really amazing. And I don't know, I was really impressed. I was really inspired. You know, I actually didn't find out about it until after last week's show. But there is a TV program, a reality show in Holland, which is called like The New Vermeer or something like that, whatever the Dutch equivalent of that is. And it's basically a show where people paint Vermeers. And I think there's several Vermeers that are missing. There was a couple that were lost in thefts and various other reasons, so they're known to have existed. And part of what they're doing with this show is they're creating reinterpretations or replicas of the original Vermeer. Yes. Mic sound a little odd. Okay. Oh, I know why. Let me fix my mic. And then be fine, hopefully. Yeah. Strange. Does that sound better? Hopefully it does. Yeah, so Kosha, you are there. Maybe you, yes, the new Vermeer, she says. Good. So yeah, and from what I've seen of it, and it's a little hard to follow because it's really not translated into English, but there are people making Vermeers in all different forms too, like carving them out of wood and making them out of dominoes and all those kinds of things. So, all right, so it sounds better? Good. Yes. Draw with me. Good. And where was I? Yes, so Vermeer, yeah, so we are part of a massive international trend that is the Vermeer forgers. Glad to be part of them. All right, cool. Whew, a few things to talk about today before we begin. What did I want to talk about? I wanted to talk about, yes, the podcast. The Art for All podcast is about to begin. It is its fifth season. Fifth season. I don't know how many we've made, probably 80-something episodes. And I kind of get bored periodically with the format and change it up. And this season, I'm going to have a co-host, as I had in the third season, when John Muir-Laws was my co-host. This season, it's going to be Jill Badonsky is going to be doing the podcast with me. And Jill is somebody who I've known for a long time. She was, in fact, the keynote speaker at SketchCon. You may remember her from that. And we are going to try something completely new. And that is, we are going to have a kind of an evolving format. We're going to see how it works. But one of the things that we're going to do, which involves you if you'd like it to, is we're going to be recording it live, and it will be like Draw With Me. It will be a live show here on YouTube, and you can come and be part of the audience. You can make comments, you can post questions, and we will see what we can do to get at them. Jill is a writer, an artist, and an incredible creative coach. In fact, she's often the coach to other coaches and coaches them on how to be a coach. So between the two of us, we are going to be answering questions about all the things that plague creative people, blocks and self-doubt, and how do you begin, and how do you set goals for yourself, and are you allowed to be an artist, and all those kinds of topics that I wrestle with. I think we all do. So it will be fun, and we'll also be taking questions that are pre-recorded. So if you would like to record a question for us, you have a 90-second little slot that you can go to school.tiny.us/message, school.tiny.us/message, and there's a little thing there. You can click on it, and you can leave a message for us in which you say, here's what I'd like you to discuss. So do that, and we're going to be starting this in I think it's 2 weeks from yesterday. will, is it? Yeah, March 15th, I think. But I'll let you know more about it, and I'll talk about it next week. But do be, if you want to join us, fine. If you don't, of course, it's a podcast, so you can watch the recording here whenever you want to. You can listen to the podcast. We'll see how it goes. Cool. So yes, I think it will be a lot of fun. I see some of you are excited about it. That's awesome. And I think it will be really nice. So thanks for being excited about it. All right. What else? This week's sponsor, Winsor & Newton, sponsoring us with gouache. I'm going to be painting with gouache today, and you could be too. So we recently did an amazing workshop with my friend Jimmy on painting landscapes with gouache. And maybe you still have your gouache from that workshop. You could work on it with me today. But if not, why not see if you can get some? We are going to be giving, I forget how many sets it is, but I have my own set that they just sent me, and this could be yours, which is a nice fresh box. I'm going to be using my old one today because I just don't have the time to reopen this one, but I'm excited. There's nothing like fresh gouache, right? So there's that. So if you would like to be included in the Winsor & Newton gouache giveaway, please write to us. Write to us at info@sketchbookschool.com, or you can, if you prefer snail mail, write to us at our post office box. You need to have a U.S. mailing address because we are sponsored by Winsor & Newton USA. And we'll be giving away a set of these gouaches, which are, it's a nice little thing. JJ, I'm not sure if you know how many we're giving away. Have you said it already in the chat? I'm not sure. But we're going to be giving away a few. And you could win them. Write to us and tell us why you want them. We need more than just your name. And we also need you to include your mailing address, because if you don't, we don't know where to mail them to. So then you won't win. All right. Good. Let's move on. I'm a little fuzzy today. Because I'm painting, I've decided that I need to have this giant Sketchbook Skool kind of drinking cup that I can't possibly stick my brush into because it happens too often. Suddenly I'm like painting with coffee. So now I have this with the logo and swatches on it to contain my beverage. Hopefully that will work. I don't know. Maybe I'll knock it over. But actually it has a sealed top. So there. Good. All right. Let's get on with it. So this is Women's History Month. Women's History Month. And in order to honor Women's History Month, we are going to paint a woman who I think is a legitimate part of women's history, and that's Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo is blocking my face right now. Frida Kahlo is an artist, but also an icon, and she is an icon for female empowerment, I think, for disability empowerment. And she just looks great too, doesn't she? She just is. She's got such an iconic look to her. So, yes, Kate, we're not going to do Social Work Month and Irish American Month, I'm afraid. Today, at least, we're focusing on Women's History Month. So, let's get to it. Sitting here dithering. So let's get out our materials and let's start thinking about how we want to do this. So I have my gouache palette set up. Got a little, and I have a lot of white because I go through white like crazy. And also because I learned from Mario Robinson that it's nice to have a bunch of paint mixed up in advance, I made myself some flesh tone or some Frida Kahlo flesh tone standing by and ready to go. And I'm going to, I don't know, I'm not sure how accurate a portrait I'll do of her. I think it's more, I'll just be inspired by the look of her And, I just think that she's great looking. I love the flowers in her hair and just the power in her face. So yeah, so don't get too concerned if your Frida Kahlo, looks like someone else. Could look like, I don't know. Who are other famous Fridas? Could look like Ed Asner for all I know. Doesn't really matter. Just have some fun. It's really fun to paint with gouache, and particularly these Winsor Newton gouaches are the colors are just so tasty, and opaque. There's something so nice about just getting in there with some opacity and knocking around with color. So it's very different from painting with watercolor, if that's what you're used to, because, of course, you can layer as opposed to, you can layer opaque colors as opposed to transparent layers. So I like to kind of start by just generally creating an overview of her, just kind of putting down some biggish shapes, and then we'll go in and do details later on. We've had a number of gouache workshops at Sketchbook School. We did a couple with August Wren. One was about portraiture, one was about flowers, and this one, as it happens, will combine both flowers and portraiture. So that's pretty nice. And of course, we had Jimmy Leslie teaching us gouache in a different style, because he's not an illustrator. He is really more of a painter, almost like an acrylic painter, I think, is really his métier, his main thing that he works in. So, but it's just painting, quickly like this. It's really nice. Long time ago, back when I was a teenager, I used to paint a bit in acrylics on canvas. And it was always kind of a big undertaking. And I would always end up painting these gigantic paintings. And, like 3 or even 4 feet square. And then I would have all these huge paintings sitting around. And I don't know about you, but like you end up with all this artwork, which is nice to have, but what do you do with it? Particularly if if you don't own some kind of a mansion. What do you do with all these giant pieces of art? But painting with gouache in a sketchbook, it's pretty nice. It's pretty manageable, but you can still approach it like painting, which is nice. It's drying pretty quickly, which is good. So, all right, here we go. I'm going to start to try and add some. Switch to a smaller brush. Try to add some Frida Kahlo signature items from the Frida Kahlo collection. Like immediately you would start to know that it was her just because of that. Isn't it kind of interesting? Like she has these eyebrows that I think a lot of people would be very discouraged if they had them, and she wears them with pride, and that's one of the great things about Frida Kahlo, I think, is that attitude. The thing I find with gouache is I go back and forth a lot. So I'll go back in and I will I'll refine things, and you can pretty easily with gouache because it is opaque. So I'm going to begin by giving her kind of a dead zombie look by just painting in the whites of her eyes. It's easier to do that than paint around the irises. So we'll have that. And ultimately, I'm going to get down to kind of refining her face. Right now, it's very two-dimensional. But And I could have done this in a completely different way. I could have done this stuff last, but I'm not in the mood. I want to get into it. I want to make her Frida Kahlo as soon as I can. And then we'll go back and refine it so that she looks less like a cartoon and more like a real person. See how nice these colors are, though, right? You put them down, and they're just there. If you've never painted with gouache, well, maybe you'll win the gouache that we're giving away. But try it. I promise you it will be a great experience. And it's not that hard to kind of get the gist of it. And to me, these colors are just so phenomenal because I love bright colors like this. And that's what led me to do a lot of work in Procreate on the iPad, was because you can get these sort of solid, bright colors that are so defined and opaque, almost cartoony. And that's one of the pleasures of it. For a long time, it was sort of an illustrator's medium. I don't think it was really thought of as much as a kind of a fine art medium, which is a shame because I think you can express yourself pretty nicely with this stuff. But colored pencil can't get this kind of vibrancy. Even really great colored pencils don't give you this kind of intensity. If you'd like a good example of quick and dynamic looking gouache, I would definitely look at August Wren. She does a painting a day on Instagram, and it's quick and playful. Really great stuff. This is a funny photograph because it looks like one of her paintings almost, right? Or maybe it's just because she looks like one of her paintings. It's another thing I really love about Frida Kahlo is her use of the self-portrait, which I think is such a great vehicle for expression. I like to draw self-portraits too. Not out of vanity, but just because in the end, most art is a self-portrait. So why not start there? I like artists also who have a sort of an iconic look to them. Like think of Picasso with his kind of blue and white striped French jersey, or you think of David Hockney, who always has those great round glasses and his yellow hair, and he always has stripes and great colored socks. And it's also fun. It's fun, I think, to have some sort of signature look. You see how I'm kind of building her up from the bottom. So I kind of started with her skin tone, and now I'm just continuing to add detail. And because I mixed up a lot of this flesh tone initially, it's good. I can go back in and match it pretty easily, so I can fix it up. And I want to give her those red cheeks. Now, the thing about gouache is you can dilute it, and then it almost can become like watercolor. But I think it's better to try and mix another color. So I'm going to, rather than just putting some really diluted red, I'm mixing a color that is basically that flesh tone with red, not really much water, so that it'll blend a bit, but it doesn't feel different from all of the other paint that I put down. Not sure I like that. No, I don't like it. But it's not a problem. I can just take it away. Actually, that worked out quite well. So now I'm going to go back in and look at these flowers some more. See, also, it's nice to work around the painting, and that way you let areas dry. So you can reactivate gouache, but if you let it dry, then it becomes, it retains its opacity, and that to me is the trick, is to not keep diluting it, because then it loses its, the great quality that it has. How's your Frida coming along? Are you painting her too? I hope you are. A lot of people were brave in painting that Vermeer last week, because you could say, oh, how am I going to paint? He's like a really famous painter. How am I ever going to tackle that? But everybody dove in and tried it. And, there's no reason you couldn't do this one as well. I think Frida Kahlo is such a recognizable person that she has so many sort of signature elements to her look that I think you could do one without anybody saying, is that supposed to be Frida Kahlo? Although I did see somebody said that about my little drawing that I did as the thumbnail for this video today. Somebody said, is Danny trying to look like Frida Kahlo? There's nothing worse than an artist being asked if they're trying to do something. So it's like, yeah, what do you say? No, I wasn't really. Clearly I wasn't trying because I failed. So that's okay. Her eyes. I have to figure out a nice brown, because this gouache set, while it has some really good colors, does not have brown. It doesn't have like a umber or something. Her eyes are kind of umberish. It's the first thing you think of when you think of Frida Kahlo, her umberish eyes. Yeah, I'm mixing this, and as I mix it, it gets further and further away from the color I want it to be. All right, this is getting somewhere now. Maybe a little bit more blue. Her eyes are really pretty dark, but they are definitely brown, not black. I think that'll probably work. So is this dry? It is. I'm in luck. Not entirely dry. You see, it's picking up a little bit of the white, which is okay, probably. Uh-oh. Hi. It's Frida. This just in. It's Frida Kahlo. What do I say? Kahlo? Frida Kahlo? Frida Kahlo. I'm sorry. I don't speak Spanish. Is that a legitimate excuse? Not really. Frida Kahlo. See, you learn something every day, and I guess this is the thing I'm going to learn today. How to pronounce her name. Anela, see, now I'm going to mangle Anela Gutierrez's name. All right, let me try it. Angela Gutierrez? Frida Kahlo. I can't pronounce Angela Gutierrez apparently either, but yes. Frida Kahlo. Vincent van Gogh. David Hockney. How about that? It's important to pronounce people's names properly, appropriately, correctly, the way they like them to be. It's disrespectful to not do that. So, quite right for correcting me. Right, now I'm going to try and deal with this shadow under her chin. A little bit worried about it. But I like a blue shadow myself. And so that's where I'm going with this. We'll see what it looks like. I might have to knock it back a bit once it dries. But the good thing about this is it allows me to make her jaw look a little bit better. Looks kind of like she's wearing some kind of a weird blue muffler right now. But again, we will fix these things as we progress. It's fine. Another signature, of course, is this. It's faint, but I like a woman with a mustache. All right, so now while this is kind of just sitting for a bit, I'm going to work on the embroidery on her dress down here. Can you see what I'm doing? I mean, you can tell that it's Frida Kahlo, but it looks a little, she looks a little meaty right now. Meaty. Yes, she looks a little meaty. So maybe I need to just narrow her jaw a bit so she looks less like a welterweight. What else have I done wrong? I guess I could put a little bit of tone in here. That might help. And of course under her nose. That's really what she needs. That's better, I think. This gap between the bottom of her nose and her upper lip is more pronounced than I made it, but okay. I don't need a photograph of her. I don't need to paint like a photograph because I already have a photograph of her here. So it's fine if I misjudge that gap. I think I'm going to have to give her a bit more of a, reduce that jaw line a bit more. All right, I'm not going to get crazy about this. I'm here to have fun. I hope you are too. Now, gold is an interesting element here, right? There's quite a lot of gold. I'm thinking about maybe using these Winsor Newton gold, these Winsor Newton metallics, because they are watercolors, but it's possible I could mix one with gouache with some white. Try that. I've never done that. Could be a disaster, but that's fine. Now, the question is, should I paint her background? And do I want to, I don't think I want to, I like this green, but I don't think that's really what I want to do. Or do I? Let me just think. All right, I'll just go with the green. I'll go with the green, and maybe I can mix a nice green. Don't know that I've mixed. I should really mix a lot of green. Hey, look at this. I made this. I didn't make it in first grade. I made it about a month ago, but now I need some paint. So, yeah, because I'm going to paint this whole background, I might as well just get like a good squinch of paint there and put in a bit more. It's nice to have these little, outside of your palette, to have just a few little, what are these things called? I can never remember. But they, oh, no. No, did you see what I just did? Yeah, I'll fix it. But, oh my God. How typical is that? Don't do that. Don't do what I just did. But when it dries, I'll fix it. Brother. Do not do that. Yeah, my brush just upended. But as I said, it's nice to have some little mixing bowls or something that may be separate from your palette if you just want to mix one color. When we did the workshop with Mario, he introduced us to these things called muffin tins, which are kind of a sort of a palette. What do you think? Too dark? It'll lighten up when it dries, I think. I'll be also able to fix this terrible thing I did to her neck. Oh my gosh. So another way of doing this is to paint this in advance. You know, I could have painted the background before I did anything. Probably would have been smarter, but it's okay. I can do whatever I like. But this kind of way of painting with gouache, where you have these really like big, it's just really nice. It's like oil painting to be able to sort of mush around nice shiny wet paint like this. Don't get to do that much with watercolor, but I kind of actually like this sort of frame around her. I think I'm going to leave that so I don't have to worry so much about going up and painting. Although I did mess it up right there, but it's okay. This is part of the process. And how about those eyes of hers? Starting to get light again. I have to go in and put a bit more in there. Okay. So when this dries, I can do some gold, because I can do the gold earrings and things, but I need to have a bit of a background for them. So I think I'm going to have to come in a bit here and just create a bit more background for the earrings, and for the necklace will be fine once I fix this mess up. Now, a lot of times when I do this kind of a drawing or painting, I might go in with a brush pen or something like that and kind of delineate things. I don't think I want to with this, because I kind of like the sort of delicacy of this thing. It's kind of delicate, and if I start outlining things, it will become kind of cartoony and not nice. I think I want to make her lips a little bit more orangey. Not quite as orange as they are in the photo. I don't know if that's really the color that she was wearing, or if that's just a function of kind of this 1950s color photography. But also when you do eyes, the last thing you do is you put in the highlight. And that often, as they say, turns the light on, brings the person to life. So Time Enough says, I use Canson XL watercolor. Is that paper? Yes, of course it is. Yeah, I was wondering if you were talking about Canson watercolors. I don't even know if there was such a thing, but yes, I'm using Winsor Newton paper actually. It is mixed media paper. All right, how's it going? How are you doing down here, you terrible mistake? But you'll see, it'll be gone. We won't even see it. I just have to wait for this to dry. Or actually, I don't even need to wait for it to dry. I can just kind of do a bit of this and a bit of that. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. There we go. Time to do some repair. Some triage. See, this is, again, one of the beauties of gouache. Is that you can just cover it up and it's gone. Now you're saying to yourself, but it looks lighter, and it does, but it will fix itself. And if it doesn't, that's what I'm here for, to fix it. Same with this black. See? Gone. No problemo, as they say, as Frida Kahlo might have said. I doubt that she said that kind of thing very often. Do you think she would say, Diego, no problemo. I'm sorry I spattered paint all over your mural. He said, no problemo. I painted it in gouache. I can fix it in a second. All right, now I want to do another thing here in the lips. And this, again, this could be another mistake, but let's see if it is. If it is, I'll fix it. No, I think that was not a terrible mistake. It was not bad. Now I'm going to mix some actual black in with this brown to darken her pupils. Not pure black, but now she's starting to look a bit more alive. And when that dries, I can put in a highlight. And that blue scarf effect isn't bothering me so much now. You know, it's kind of settling in. It was sort of startling at first, but now it's feeling, you know, like I intended it. All right, so now let's deal with this, with whether or not I can mix gouache and metallic watercolor. We'll see. If I can, that will be really interesting, because it'll mean I have basically opaque. I also have, so this is Winsor Newton Metallics, but I also have it in a tube. And I really wanted to get it in pans, and I just got them in pans, but now I'm kind of wishing I had my tubes here. I think they're on the other side of the room, so I'm going to have to just work with this. So I'm just going to get some going here, just work up some paint. put it on my palette. I'm kind of transferring it from here to my other palette. Hi again.
Do you want me to get your tubes?
I think it's in that box down there.
This box. These are Cotmans.
Yeah. Did I say Winsor Newton metallics? Well, Cotman owns Winsor Newton. Cotman is a line of Winsor Newton. So, yes. So these are the tubes. So I think I'm going to use that. Thank you, JJ. And if this works, it will be great. So there's a little bit of gold. And then here I have some gouache. Be careful because I don't want to make it really milky. And this, I'm already starting to see that that's going to be happening. So this, it's not, I mean, yeah, you see it's losing its gold. It doesn't seem gold for now. So that may not work. I think it's because it's gold. Like, but actually when I look at her, it's not necessary. Yeah, no, it looks like white. That's not good. That's not what I want. So I'm going to have to just go with gold. Go with the gold. So I'm just going to put some regular old gold in here. This, in general, I find that these metallics they're kind of more opaque than regular watercolors a lot of the time. So this, yes, okay, this is going to work. So. Yeah. You'll see when it dries, it's really nice and shiny. So it'll look really like gold. And as you can see, it's kind of opaque. You see how it's sitting on top here, and it's looking pretty good. So, and when that dries, I can put on a little bit more. So, yeah, that experiment that I just tried with the gold and the white didn't succeed, but I've done it many times with other colors, with watercolor and adding just a little bit of gouache, and then you do get nice opaque paint. So try that out sometimes if you're playing with gouache. So now I can just put a bit more on. That's looking decent. So how am I doing? Pretty well. I know. One more thing I need to do. And again, this is something I couldn't do with watercolor, but I can go in, I can put in a highlight in her eye. Get a clean brush here. Huh? Too much. Okay, I'll come back and fix that. See, you can do a thing like that, like I just did, because this brush had one hair that was sticking out, and that is the problem. But I can easily fix it. Let me just let it dry a minute, and yeah, so I'm getting somewhere. Yeah, Abby says that sternness. I know mine is kind of like cuter and more accessible looking than the original. Like she doesn't look as this is forthright and tough. But that's okay. This is my kindler, gentler version. Kindler, gentler, Frida Kahlo. Let's see how this goes. The colors and all are going to change as everything dries and kind of merges together. It's all good. And I could theoretically, I do have a couple of markers standing by. Maybe later on after it all dries, I'll go back over it with a fine liner and tighten things up. I hope I don't, because this right now is a painting. It's not a drawing, and that is just a nice kind of deviation from the norm to do something a little different. And as soon as I bring in a fine liner, then I'll really be making more of a colored drawing than a painting. See how those highlights on her eyes that I look so terrible they're softening a bit. It's still not correct, but it's very wet right now, so I have to leave it. And Hannah wants to know the pros and cons between acrylic and gouache. You know, I don't use gouache that much on paper, although it is something I'm thinking of getting into. I think gouache is much more reworkable, and it's not plasticky. Sometimes acrylic can feel plasticky, and in the end, it's watercolor. It's much easier to clean up, and what else? It tends to dry. You can rework it a lot of times when it started to dry, whereas acrylic, once it's set, is set. And yeah, those are my thoughts about it. Eva thinks that gouache is expensive. Gouache is not. I don't think it's cheaper. No, there's a lot of pigment in it, so that's why you get these really intense colors. Laura feels like my Frida looks mean. Really? I think she looks kind of cute. Mean. Oh, I don't know. I didn't see that. But the eye of the beholder. Gouache is more matte. That's a good point. Yeah. Acrylic it's plastic in a way, so it can reflect light, whereas this is, it's pretty matte. Although the gold, you see how the gold is? That gold is, again, it's not gouache, it's watercolor, but see how nice and shiny that gold is? Super nice. And let's see if I can fix up the eyes now. Need an even smaller brush, I think, to get in there. So I may have to wait for this to fully dry. All right. Since you don't dilute it to use up faster, then acrylics, I don't remember particularly diluting acrylics. And you definitely have a wet brush. I mean, you can go. When I'm mixing it up and stuff, I use a little bit of water to kind of lubricate things, but it's not diluted like watercolor is. No. So I think a set of watercolors will last you much longer, from my experience. But good watercolors, I think, are more expensive than gouache. Here's the thing about gouache and watercolors are essentially the same thing. They just have a different medium in them. So good watercolors, good gouache have good pigments, and cheap ones don't. And so it's the binder. The binder is the thing that makes it opaque or transparent or translucent. And so that's really the key difference between them. So there's no particular reason that gouache would be cheaper than watercolor, because it's pretty much the same thing. Right now I'm making more of a mess of it. I'm going to go back and do this highlights again later. All right, well, there's my Frida Kahlo. Yeah, definitely. The problem that I have with hers is, you see where I put this, her nose is just too close to her mouth. So what I could do, dare I? All right, I'm going to do something daring now. Let's see if this is worth it. This could make things even worse. But, you know, what the hell? It's an experiment. Let's see. Are you ready? This is going to be kind of scary. Let's see. Oh, no, he didn't. Yes, he did. And I'm not trying to silence her. I'm just trying to give her a little bit of surgical help with her mouth, because her mouth is in the wrong place. But again, nice thing I can do with gouache. Now, of course, we're going to have to wait, see what happens. Yes. Again, I suddenly feel really bad. We're celebrating Women's History Month, and the first thing I did is I painted out this woman's mouth. Not what I'm trying to say, promise you. I just want to make her look as good as I can. Give her the right strength and expression. I've never painted her before, and it's been a while since I've used gouache. So what other excuses can I come up with while this dries? Yeah. All right, so it's getting there. Got to make sure. Have to make sure that this is really dry, because if I went in early, I can spread it around a bit. And the question is her... Yeah, see, I think I pretty much got the placement of the nose right. It's just the mouth. I mean, the length of her nose, pretty much correct. And it all really comes down to that mouth. It just looked like she had no, whatever that gap, what is that gap called between your nose and your mouth? Is it like a filium? Is that the name of that little slot that goes down there? Something like that? Does anybody know? It'll be dry soon. Sorry, we might be running a little tiny bit late. Filgrim? No, Filtrum. Yes, Mary has it right, Filtrum. Now, you know, just because I don't want us to run over time too much, I'm going to plug in my hair dryer, because my hair is a mess. Filtrum. Oh, good. For those of you who missed the lawn guy, the leaf blowers, they're here. That's an indication that I'm taking too long. I'm going to turn this down. Hold on. Yeah, the long guys are here. Filtrum. All right, it's not entirely dry, so, but I think I can risk it. So let's mix up the right lipstick color for her. Bit of orange there. And we'll see where it goes now. All right, let me make sure I get it correct this time. Yeah, that's better, right? That's better. Yeah. All right, that was worth doing. It was a bit scary, but it was worth doing. A lot of things that are worth doing are scary, but you know, it's only paint and paper. It would have been the end of the world if I'd ruined it. And I'll fix her expression. She's looking a little like she just finished eating some pizza or something, but I'll fix it. All right. Yeah, I'll fix it. I'll fix this up some more. We're running out of time, and the leaf blowers are about to kick in, so take my word for it, this will be better. Let me let it dry and just say goodbye to you. A couple of things. Let's see. That was a bit nerve-wracking. Okay, so again, if you'd like some gouache of your own, now that you've seen some of the benefits of gouache, like major reconstructive surgery, send in for yours or to get a chance to have it. And also, I'd love to see your Frida Kahlos. So please share them on social media, on Facebook or on Instagram or in the Sketchbook School schoolyard, and tag them #SBS Draw with me. Then we'll go and we'll scour the internet for them next week, and we will put them together. And on next Thursday, you'll get to see yours in among the other masterpieces. The Art for All podcast is coming back, so don't forget, if you have a question you'd like to share, please go to, could you put up that URL again, if you have it, JJ? Danny'sEssays.com. I write an essay every week on Fridays. I also write one on Tuesdays, but the one on Friday you can get for free by just signing up for it, Danny'sEssays.com. Sign up for it and have at it. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you can know, A, when Draw With Me reappears, but B, when we start doing Art for All, the live podcast recording, which will be really cool with Jill Bodonsky. That will be starting very soon. So I hope you can join me, and I'll see you next time. Keep working on your Fridas, and don't forget to share them. Have a great day.